obviously there was huge news in WWE this week. And no, I'm not talking about the Netflix deal. I already talked about that. No, I'm not talking about The Rock joining the TKO board. I already talked about that. Both of those I talked about on Tuesday. You can go back to the podcast and listen. I'm here to talk about the Vince McMahon allegations. Now, you can read for yourself the lawsuit and you can read for yourself the text messages and all of that. Obviously, very graphic. I'm not going to go through that today on Brandon's World. This is obviously a very serious subject that we have covered here on Brandon's World since Vince McMahon's resignation in July of 2022, which again, today I think it will be appropriate to go over the timeline of what has happened with Vince McMahon slash TKO slash WWE as we WWE now embark on a brand new era. Starting with, a little bit after WrestleMania, late May, early June 2022, the Wall Street Journal publishes their report on Vince McMahon and the allegations. Vince McMahon is still in charge of creative at this point. He comes out on Friday Night SmackDown, gives a little rah-rah speech, and apparently goes backstage and tells, whoever he's working with at the time that all of these allegations can go at themselves. Fast forward to July 22nd, 2022, a day we all thought in WWE would live in infamy. That being that Vince McMahon tweeted out at about 4 p.m. Eastern Time that he was resigning as the WWE CEO. Stephanie McMahon would take over, Nick Khan would take over as co-CEOs, Triple H would take over as head of creative, and for 6 months, essentially, Vince McMahon was completely out of the WWE picture. Fans came back to WWE. It was a different feeling. A lot of wrestlers that Vince McMahon had previously released and come back to the company. WWE was bringing in new, fresh ideas, new light, new ideas, new product to the company. Then January 2023 happens, and Vince McMahon, because at this point he was still a majority owner of the WWE, forged his way back onto the TKO board, even though the entire TKO board, which also featured Triple H, Stephanie McMahon, and Nick Khan, said no to him coming back. Vince McMahon forced his way back onto the board. He was back, and his reason given was to sell WWE, which there were a lot of rumors about who would buy WWE. There was a huge rumor at one point about this time last year of Saudi Arabia buying WWE, though thank God that turned out to be false. And it ended up being Endeavor, who also obviously owned UFC, as UFC and WWE came together for one partnership. And myself and many WWE fans, the WWE Universe included, did not know how to react. We did not know what this was going to mean. Was this going to be the same WWE? Was this going to mean massive changes to WWE? Then, that announcement occurred on night 2 of WrestleMania. Night 2 of WrestleMania 39 happened. And the next night, Vince McMahon sabotaged Monday Night Raw. It was the Raw after WrestleMania. It was a complete mess. It was completely random. No storylines were followed up. Brock Lesnar turned on Cody Rhodes. And apparently, the show got Vince. Vince McMahon took over creative from the headset. He ripped it off from Triple H. He took control of the show, and this was the start of about 6 months of Vince McMahon meddling in plans, meddling in creative, changing matches on the fly, going back to his languages like championship contenders matches and local medical facilities. And while WWE put on great shows at the time occasionally, and you could really tell, which shows were Triple H shows and which shows were Vince McMahon shows, there was one SmackDown show that was completely random where there was almost like no wrestling on it at all, and it got Vince. And a lot of people, like myself, who thought Vince McMahon, after WrestleMania 38, booked one of the best WrestleManias ever in 2022. But once you saw Triple H's vision of WWE, because I was not an avid watcher of the NXT black and gold brand, nobody wanted, obviously, Vince McMahon to return with all the allegations and him sabotaging. And obviously, that's just not great for business. Then the TKO merger with WWE became official in about September of 2023. And at that time, TKO put Triple H back in charge of creative. And Vince McMahon was essentially deemed to just be on the side. He was to help Triple H and Nick Khan work on television deals, which WWE got free television deals around this time. SmackDown moving from Fox to the USA Network, NXT moving from the USA Network to the CW, and Raw, of course, now in January 2024, it was announced moving from the USA Network to Netflix. And then, just when everything was getting out of the clear, just when it looked like Triple H was in charge of creative, we are heading to the Royal Rumble, one of the biggest shows WWE offers, a show that had a lot of intrigue among fans as to who was going to win the men's Royal Rumble, who was going to win the women's Royal Rumble. Would Roman Reigns retain the Undisputed Championship? Would Logan Paul retain the United States Championship? There was a lot of questions. Obviously, again, WWE just announced The Rock coming to the TKO board. There was a lot of speculation with Ava, his daughter, being the new NXT general manager. The Rock was going to be back in the picture and face Roman Reigns, and Raw just got this huge deal with Netflix. And then this bombshell dropped. And on Friday night, during Friday Night SmackDown, Vince McMahon resigned from the WWE TKO board. And this time, being a board member of a major company and not having major control anymore of WWE, Vince McMahon will not be able to force himself back on the board. And I do believe at this point, moving forward, as Saturday, the day of the Royal Rumble, became the first day since the 1950s that a McMahon, whether it was Vince McMahon Sr., Vince McMahon, Triple H, Stephanie McMahon, and obviously Triple H is another McMahon last name, so I don't know why I threw that in there. But Vince Sr., Vince McMahon, Stephanie McMahon, Shane McMahon, Linda McMahon, Vince McMahon, obviously, I don't know. I know they're separated. I don't know, to be honest with you, whether they're technically divorced or not. But this was the first time since the 1950s that a McMahon has not been working for WWE as of Saturday at the Royal Rumble. I believe this is going to stick. I do not believe that Vince McMahon will be back in WWE. I think we are truly at the end of an era. And it is exciting for a WWE fan because regardless of the Vince McMahon allegations, which are just disgusting, and Brock Lesnar is involved in there, which is why Brock Lesnar did not appear at the Royal Rumble. You can read all about it on the internet. Again, I think it's inappropriate for me, somebody who's just a podcaster, and as well somebody as young as me who, really sometimes as I talk about all these allegations, and I talked about a lot with the Deshaun Watson case when it came to Cleveland Browns. It's just not my expertise, right? My expertise is to break down matches, give my opinion, break down games, break down storylines, give my thoughts on who the best players are, who the best teams are, project moving forward what the matches is going to be, who the winner is going to be of the big game. That's my job. My job is to not make, really talk about this stuff. But at the end of the day, it's important. But again, I think this does create new exciting opportunities. Kevin Dunn, Vince McMahon's right-hand man, is no longer in charge of production. We've already seen that from WWE with the different camera angles and the different shots and the different graphics. That is truly a new era in WWE. And there is a report out there that TKO will be looking to get rid of any employee that had any direct connection to Vince McMahon. So Bruce Pritchard may be off the creative team, though Bruce Pritchard has worked with Triple H a lot. I still think he can bring some value to the company. We will see in that. But again, just to make another point here, it is really a new era in WWE. This will be the first time that we will get a Triple H-led Hall of Fame. I know Triple H is really an advocate of building a physical WWE Hall of Fame. It's why, they've done the most wanted treasure series on A&E. I hope that now eventually happens. This will be a first time Triple H led WrestleMania, which all Triple H Levesque is really a historian of the business. There's going to be, I'm sure, a lot of callbacks and a lot of features to, WrestleMania 1 throughout WrestleMania 39 here as we get up to WrestleMania 40. I'm really excited for it. There's a lot of WWE superstars coming back. There's a lot of WWE superstars, as we saw in the Royal Rumble this past weekend. There is more depth than ever in WWE. There's a lot more creative freedom. The commentary is really good when it comes to Michael Cole, Corey Graves, Pat McAfee, Wade Barrett. Obviously, they're going to have to find a replacement for Kevin Patrick. The ring announcers, Mike Rome, Samantha Irvin, are great. It's just a great time to be a WWE fan. Merchandise sales have never been higher. Ticket attendance for the roof. Sign usage, I could argue, has never been higher, and it has almost never been as cool, besides the Attitude Era, as Triple H said last night, to be a WWE fan. And so, with that, I just want to say I hope Vince McMahon stays away from WWE for good this time. And yeah, WWE, as I keep saying here, is truly in a new era. Like that clip from the Brands World podcast? If so, make sure you go down there and hit that subscribe button. While you're down there hitting the subscribe button, make sure to also hit the notification bell so you never miss another upload. And make sure you check out all the other clips from the Brands World podcast right here on YouTube.